Because of your children and
Yeah, we try and stagger stuff acting wise as much as we can. Doesn't always work out that way, but we weren't necessarily thinking of it that way. It was more just came out of the fact that we'd gotten to a point where we had worked with a lot of great people, and we really knew some of the best filmmakers and writers and directors, and we had these like high class educations that had just been going to total waste. and,
that's right.
and it just seemed like we should maybe, put all those elements to work somehow, and just, get involved in making movies from every angle instead of just one. That was our reason. And then it just was, and then there's something really satisfying about having just a germ of an idea and then developing it and having it come to fruition. Of course, it's also just deeply frustrating a lot of the time. But we were maybe unfortunately lucky to have it be so easy the first time around, because we were lulled into this false sense that it might be like this every time. And of course, it rarely is. Anyway, so we got this. So this company then started to grow, and people after the success of Doll and M wanted to. A lot of studios wanted to do like first look deals with us, and we made a first look deal, sort of overhead deal with a studio called E1 Entertainment One, that they make Sharp Objects and Fear the Walking Dead and all kinds of things. And they made a 2-year deal with us, and suddenly we had an office and 2 people working with us now, 2 development executives, and it was really like the real deal all of a sudden. We've got like 10 different television shows in development that E1 have bought and are putting together with writers, and we're developing Ann Patchett's
10
book. Yeah, they're all in different stages of development and being written, and but there are a couple that are actually written that are about to be pitched to broadcasters. But yeah, you kind of have to have a lot of things going at once, because you don't ever know what's going to kind of catch fire. And if you just have one project at a time, you could wait 10 years before you make anything.
Right. The story of To Dust, how did that come about?
So To Dust came about. M was judging a screenwriting competition for the Sloan Institute, Tribeca Film Institute screenwriting competition. And she was reading through just like 50 scripts for this, as being part of this jury. And she came to one that she really liked, and she gave it to me, and I loved it. We decided that it was something that we thought we'd like to try and get made, and we thought we could do it on a modest scale, and of course we hadn't really taken into account what it would be like to get a pig to do what you wanted to do, and but it seemed like it might be manageable. And we met the director, and he was this really bright guy. He had gone to Harvard and NYU Film School, and he had a really strong idea of how he wanted to make it. And we really just liked him personally. And so we just said, listen, we want to make this with you. And he was thrilled. And we got together with Ron Perlman's company, who gave us our first piece of money, along with, it won that grant from the Sloan Foundation. We had a little bit of money to start out with, and then we just started cobbling it together, and it took 2 years for us to raise the money, but eventually we kind of actually made it happen. And the cinematographer was somebody that he shoots a lot of Brad Anderson's movies, like The Machinist with Christian Bale, and he had shot Trans-Siberian that Emily was in, and he's a Spaniard.
Well, yeah, the cinematography is beautiful. Yeah, and
yeah, I mean, it's really, really high class, and we brought him in, and he did it for next to nothing. I mean, just like incredible labor of love. We were just so flattered by having people like him be willing to work on it. But they all really responded to the script. I mean, that wasn't just a favor to us. All the people that we got to work on it were just like felt like it was really original and would give them a chance to express themselves as artists as well.
If those actors hadn't been of the caliber that they were, walking that fine line between the deep complexity of these characters, and they didn't caricaturize them in any way. You felt like there was respect on all sides, and yet, the gefilte fish going down the toilet. I mean, it's really funny. It's really funny.
Well, that was always the question of like that, the tone, which was so unique and unusual. And as we were putting the money together, there were people who read it who were skeptical that you could marry, a comedy with subject matter about death and rotting corpses and things. And
it's part horror story, part comedy, part buddy film, part road movie, and something else. Oh, drama. It's part drama.
Yeah, well, you've nailed it, and it's hard to pitch that. We were so lucky with the casting because Geza, a lot of people know as the star of that movie Son of Saul, which was the Hungarian Holocaust film that won best foreign film Oscar a couple of years ago. And he had been that movie had been released by Sony Classics, and Sony had put out so many of the movies that I've been in, from Junebug to Laurel Canyon to Coco Before Chanel to just like feels like half the movies I've been in they released. And I've gotten to be really close with Dylan Liner, who's one of the main executives there, and he read it and he said, there's only one guy who can play this. It's Geza. And he was the one who arranged a meeting with him and Shawn, the director, and with me and Em. And Geza just loved it the minute he read it. And so the fact that we had him right from the start just like gave us a lot of confidence that really tricky piece of casting we wouldn't have to look any further for. And then Matthew is a friend of ours, and he's a neighbor of ours in Amagansett, in fact, lives just down the road from us. We just called him up and said, we have a very odd and interesting proposition for you, and you have to kind of take a chance on us, but we think that it could be a great role for you and that you'll really shine in it, and that the two of you would be such a kind of great, unlikely pairing.
Yes.
That it'll definitely get people's attention. And he read it and loved it too. And so like we just had it the sort of a dream cast came together really, really easily and naturally.
The children and the mother, I mean, everybody was just perfect.
Yeah, well, that was, Laura Rosenthal, who is also a neighbor of ours in Brooklyn, who's one of the top casting directors in New York. And she came on at a big cut rate as well because she loved the material and we had a good personal relationship with her. And so she was the person who really kind of found all of those other wonderful actors that she brought to Shawn. These guys have been definitely rewarded. Their performances have been so praised. And so I think Matthew feels like, despite the sort of brutally unglamorous shoot, that it was worth it for him to slum it. This last year has been the year of Orthodox Judaism for me, because total weird coincidence that I had been, we'd already been working on this film for a couple of years. As I said, it took a fair amount of time to put all the money together and make it actually happen. And it was in that time that we were still cobbling things together that I was offered that role with Rachel Weisz and Rachel McAdams in Disobedience, where I was going to be playing a Hasidic rabbi. And, I just couldn't believe. I kept coming into the office every week as I was growing that 3-month beard. And I was slowly starting to look more and more like Shmuel, the character that Geza was playing. And it just became this on-running joke. What worked out so well for us was that in doing all this research for that role, I got to be really close with some Orthodox Lubavitch people in Crown Heights. And there was this one family in particular, and this guy Zalman Raksin, who had kind of taken me under his wing and was teaching me how to pronounce all these Hebrew blessings that I had to say in Disobedience, and just like a lot of the physical stuff that I needed to get familiar with, and down to little details about my clothing and how I would wear it and all those things. And I was hanging around with him and his family all through the build up to filming Disobedience. And then once I finished shooting Disobedience, we this thing came together just only a couple of months later, and Zalman ended up becoming the Hasidic advisor on To Dust, and then played a role in it himself, and his son is in it too, playing that kind of school bully on the playground.
Oh yeah, that bully, yeah.
He really helped us, bridge the divide to bring in, people from the real Orthodox community, and to also allow us to be accurate and respectful of that community, so that we were doing it right.
Did he play the rabbi?
No. That guy is a wonderful actor named Ben Hammer, who sadly passed away. He was 90 something years old, and this was his last film.
And it killed him.
I did him in. He was an amazing guy, and he actually had been in Wizard of Lies with me, the De Niro Madoff movie that I did, Barry Levinson, and that was just a year before, so I'd known him. He was just fantastic, but he never lived long enough to see the finished movie, which is such a shame because he's so good in it.
Is that the actor actually singing the Cantor's song at the beginning and the end?
Yeah, he doesn't sing it at the beginning. The beginning is a woman singing it, and then he sings it at the end. He's got such a beautiful and unusual sounding voice. Such a treat at Tribeca, and we won the audience award, and Shawn won Best First Time Feature Award, and then we got picked up for distribution in February, so it's going to come out in theaters then. It's been really, and ultimately a great experience along the way. I mean, it was really hard. We were shooting in Staten Island, and we just had no money for anything, and so we were trying to do it all ourselves, and found locations that we could afford there, that were still like accessible to the city, but it's so hard. There's no public transportation there, so it's just getting the crew out there every day was just a nightmare, and we were transporting people ourselves. And anyway, it was it's not for the faint of heart.
What's the craziest thing that happened during the shoot?
Oh man, well, just God, I don't know. I guess
that you can talk about.
Yeah. Well, there was a park ranger who like flipped his lid one night because he didn't think we'd had our equipment out of there in time or something, and he started like hurling furniture around, and Matthew was trapped in his like little like closet dressing room where he had been changing out of his costume, and he was too afraid to come out, and we got some like call from him saying, I think that the park ranger might be trying to kill me. And so we had to come over, and Emily sort of sweet talked this guy and charmed him out of his murderous instinct.
Oh, that's great. That's very good. Say hello to everyone. Maybe I'll cross paths with you at the festival, but say hello to your probably giant children and your beautiful wife and your mom.
I definitely will. My son is like 2 years from leaving to get a car. It's just crazy. He's about to turn 15. Unbelievable.
I can't believe you can even make movies if you have a 15-year-old.
Well, no, he's like completely doesn't want to have anything to do with us. My 8-year-old is the one that...
Oh, thank you so much for this chat. It was lovely.
Oh, yeah, no... Thanks for doing it. It's great. It sounds like a cool new publication.
Okay.